Welcome to Timberborn and the settlement of the Evergreen. My name is Zedek, we are playing the pressure map, and we are on a mission to terraform this entire map green. Last episode, we just got a new dam in, and we're working our way to making our first mine. So the reason I'm really big on getting these ruins and mine going is that I want way more metal. You see, to get a lot of this map green, we're going to have to do more terraforming. And that will involve dirt, it's going to involve platforms, all sorts of interesting buildings, and metal always comes up. So in the beginning, I'm hoping to get a mine there, and that's going to let us work our way towards dirt excavating. And then once we've got dirt, we should be able to start tracking down the source of the bad water in this map and figure out more interesting ways to divert it around. But for now, let's get started with the mine here. The mine, however, does require a lot of treated planks, which we don't have a ton of. Just last episode, at the very end, all the way back in our production here, you can see that we started to create one wood workshop. And we got all these new pine trees up here, which is creating a ton of pine resin for us. As we get all those resources though, something I would like to continue is just expanding our production. I think thanks to our new dams in here and our diversion system, we're relatively safe from any major threats. So at this point, I think we can just start expanding our population, expanding our production base so we can start building more and more things. One of the ways I'd like to do this is by harnessing more power in here, and I'm thinking expanding our production up into this dead space that we wouldn't otherwise use. And the way I'm thinking of harnessing this power is we've got a lot of bad water and good water running down this channel. I think this would be a good place where we can extend or continue our run of water wheels. I don't know the full flow of water here, but I'm thinking it is less than 6, in which case we could still use a 2-wide channel for everything. So what I'm thinking we could do is we could narrow this channel over here all the way down. And in addition to that, I would like access to the beavers to get through this tunnel without having to get into this polluted water. And we do have a limited amount of dynamite, which I would like to use in the form of a tunnel. Now, there is a catch though. As I'm looking at placing down this tunnel, I realize that it requires extract, which we don't have yet. So fortunately, that looks like we're also going to have to make an extract building to work with this. What we could do though is we could make a bridge over here and get some crew working on the levees in the ground. We have a ton of logs, so that should be relatively cheap. And let's see, what would it cost for us to get that extract going? Well, that we can do. Just requires a little taste of metal and gears. We can probably fit in one right here. Perfect. We've already been pumping bad water for just this situation, so we can just cart it over and create some extract. And maybe we can just create a little bit of storage for it. Now, as the game progresses, this production is going to be not nearly enough. But once we get things going, we can start making bigger and bigger plans. Now that I got the extract in there, I was having second thoughts. I don't think I need this full tunnel all the way in here. Because what I could do is I could just build a road along here. And then I could reserve power lines running adjacent to all these runs. I think long term we still will want tunnels because I need it for all our terraforming, but I can save a little bit and we can just stockpile our extract for now. And we can get away with actually queuing up a few of these water wheels. It looks like they're gonna get a good chunk of power for us. Now checking on our mine, I can see that the mine is slowly getting produced. We do have a bottleneck of gears and treated planks though. Wouldn't be surprised if this takes at least a season to finish. In the meantime though, what I can do is start planning out this new production zone up here. So one of the first problems we'll have is getting power up here. Now I think what I could do is just run power, if I'm lucky, directly up through this line right here once we get these water wheels in. Right? And so if I've got a nice run going all the way down here, connecting all of these lines, that should allow me to transfer all the power up as high as I need. And in fact, I could just use platforms over this direction to get that power over here. A technique that I also like is building buildings on top of power shafts or vertical power shafts, because these are solid buildings. If you get a building there that touches it, it will transfer power into that building. So I could use dynamite in here and run basically underground power through this region here and power all the buildings that we want. My second consideration is that I need easy access here, if this is going to be like a new production zone. I do have a bunch of homes here, but I'm also wondering if I could use a zipline to get there quickly. So for example, if I had one zipline over here, that would give me access to the workers to get to these buildings, and then maybe another zipline that goes all the way up this hill. So I could tear out this stuff over here and make it a suspended zipline station. This way they can transfer between these two lines very quickly. And ideally, the other transit stations could be somewhere in here and somewhere up here. Unfortunately, they do require metal, and we only have 32 metal blocks left. So perhaps the rest of this transit network is going to have to wait until we get that mine. What we could do, though, is start to plan some of the foundation up here. I think we could maximize some of our space here by using platforms to even it out a bit. And up here, I'm going to start by spamming a bunch of plank production, a bunch of gear production, plus a little bit of room for these wood workshops, and some room for some dynamite production. Now you noticed I'm leaving a little bit of space between these buildings. That's intentional. I'd like to leave some space for some intermediate goods and maybe some decorations when we come back later. Now, one thing that we do have to do is for these buildings on the side, we need access to power. And this goes back to what I was mentioning earlier with running power lines underground. It really helps for distributing power like this. The other thing we could do is invest in some storage for all these goods so we can start stockpiling it. And those I can just put down at the end of each of these runs. Not a perfect setup, and once we get overhangs, we'll be able to do some more interesting things, but this should work for now. So if I even out the entrances to all these buildings, it should give me some nice and symmetrical opening, a little bit like that. And in the future, that even leaves us some space for decorations in front of some of these buildings. And as we unlock more decorations, we can come back there with some cool looking stuff. That is a lot of things in our build queue to get through. We need those water wheels, we need everything up here, and we still do need our mine. Given the number of builders involved, I think it's worth building another builder hut somewhere. It'd be nice to come up with some place where we could have a lot of these, since we seem to be building so much recently. How about this? I'm going to create a little section here over by this toxic lake here, and I'm going to throw in a couple of extra building huts and hauling posts. I'm going to set all of these to be low priority, just to fill in the workers that otherwise are going to waste. For example, the 7 that we've got right here. Perfect, that will do. Now at this point, we're in a bit of waiting game. I don't want to continue building or queuing things up until we get this stuff resolved. I think the most that we could do is build maybe some strategic storage piles near our construction sites to make use of all those extra haulers we've got. So for example, a lot of this construction up here is going to involve logs and planks. So if I could even make temporary storage to hold all of that stuff, that's going to help a lot. And I can prioritize all the path to get to those temporary storage parts. It's been a few days of building and they've made good progress. You can see we've got our nice long run of water wheels. These alone are producing, well, over 2,000 horsepower. Now that is low because we're in a bad tide, so you can see we're not running any water through here. But during a good season, these produce even more power. Now, as we've built this up, you can see what has happened is we've pushed our bottleneck in our production around. We are running out of beavers to man all these new buildings that we build. We're not getting as much benefit as we could from them yet. So one of the things that we should look at doing is continuing to increase our population as well. I find this is always like a balancing act. You want to make sure that you're in line with increasing your population with food and water intake so you don't cause a population collapse. Let's take a peek over at the food that we've got. Taking a peek at our food, I see we have a ton of wheat, but not as much wheat flour, which tells me we could probably use with another grist mill in the near future. And our stockpile over here is doing great. We've got lots of potatoes. Water is a mixed story. You can see here that we do have some water stockpiled, but it's very quick to go through our medium tank. We still have water here, which tells me that we've got not enough people pumping water. We are very close to upgrading to a large water pump though. One of these would be great, it would work much more efficiently, but it requires treated planks, so I don't want to put that down until we finish with our mine. Maybe what we could do though is we could arrange for some more larger tanks in here. So start stockpiling bigger and bigger supplies. Our city center also doesn't need to be here, so we can make plans to eventually move this out of the way. Plans for that aside, let's go take a look at our housing. We've got these really nice row homes here. I wonder if there's something that we could do to add a second story to them. That, of course, is complicated because we've got this tramway station or zipline station running right through the top of them. What I would like to do is redirect the zipline through here. So that would open up this space here. Unfortunately, this requires metal, and we are still out of metal and our mine is not ready yet. So I can make plans for this, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to build fully yet. Now, one of the things that is new in this release that I want to play around with more is spiral stairs. So spiral stairs are just like regular stairs, except they turn 90 degrees at the same time. And I think there's some options to really build some compact staircases here. So for example, if I build this building up higher, it's going to be all the way up here. And so I've got to get up 3 levels of height. So what I'm thinking I could do is try to fit something in here with a really compact stairs. For example, if I had something like this, I could have the stairs go up and then turn around and curve around again, like that. And you can see, because I can use F to mirror as well as rotate, I can end up with all sorts of clever combinations. So that would allow me to get all the way from ground level up to the height that we need. For example, by making a staircase here, that would let me put something like that, and then I would have access to both of those homes. Yeah, I like that. And if I got rid of that zip line, I could potentially build 2 homes over here. And, maybe I don't need homes on the outside. I can just start filling those in with decoration and finishing them off somehow. Maybe something like that. Unfortunately, that's as far as I can get for now. But let's take a look at that mine. Like, are we that far away from getting metal again? Well, no, in fact, we are not. We just need a few more gears and a few more treated planks. Adding the additional production for gears and treated planks really started to speed this up. There we go. All we need to do now is give them some time to get some scrap metal, and that can work its way over to our metal production. And in fact, now that I see this here, this does show me that we forgot to put metal production up in our new production zone. We only have 1 smelter in all our colony. Not great. Once everything stabilizes here, we should look at adding one of those up in here. However, with that metal coming in, we can finally build that new pylon station. That's going to allow us to redirect that zip line. And now we can continue working on our housing district. You can see I'm just going to repeat the same pattern by continuing the spiral staircase up another 2 layers and adding more homes and some different decorations. That's looking pretty nice. And maybe while we're here, we could use this as an opportunity to put in some statues so we can continue to get additional happiness bonuses. I think we could do that with just a little bit of support structures. For example, we could put a farmer monument over here and a brazier of bonding over here. And both of those should provide good coverage for everybody there. In fact, if we're building the scaffolding to get up there to build that, that could give us an opportunity to put in some additional rooftop terraces. We just need to figure out a way to actually get beavers there. And for that, I think we can just rearrange these stairs very slightly. I'm finding these stairs are just so powerful to do all sorts of crazy combinations like this. Look at this, very compact staircase. It's almost a spiral staircase going all the way up. That now gives me space over here where I can make another staircase down, and that's going to give access to this area. Wow, that spiral staircase, that's turning out to be like the MVP. Look at this. I could just continue that construction all the way up, and I could make this as high as I need it to be, right? And at this point, I've already got access to room for yet another story up here. Very powerful. I'm liking the spiral staircase. Okay, we've got the Evergreen towers. There'll be a nice, solid boost to our population when we get around to it. With all those babies coming in, though, we do need to pay attention to our water supply. We've got 36 babies already born in that short time, and we haven't finished building homes. Let's go ahead and put in a large water pump. I'm going to start with 1, get that done, and then we can immediately start tearing out the rest. We have this big pipeline to make treated planks, so hopefully we can get this built in pretty quick time. Almost in, but I am seeing a warning that we've got an unstable core about to detonate. In fact, a double whammy of 2 unstable cores about to go at the same time. Luckily, I think this is not a threat, since we had some earlier planning that should have cut these off. It looks like the way this would normally happen is this bad water would get put into our underground tunnel here that would pollute everything. But we've already cut it off, so instead we just get to see a really nice explosion. And I guess now we have another easy access to our tunnel if we ever get around to fixing this little hole. That said, how is our pump doing? Well, it looks like we've got our pumping station in. So with this one operational, I'm going to start tearing out some of the rest so we can continue to make even more of these large ones. We'll have all those new pumps coming in soon. We've got now 2 large water tanks. So that's nice and stable. In fact, we could probably even delete this medium tank. Our original downtown district looks much simpler than it did in the beginning. I can see our homes are coming in. We've got 57 open beds, and that's going to go a long way to fully staffing out all of these buildings here. Now, as I mentioned, the other thing on my mind is getting access to additional smelters. Metal is something that we are going to need a lot of, so I'd like to stack a big row of them in somewhere here. Let's see, what is the best way that I could do that? Well, how about something over on this side? Bad tide aside, I do know that the mine is over here, and I've got a zipline station. If I were to build this factory in this direction on stilts, I could have the smelters lined up here, add another zipline station up here instead of a pylon, and they could drop off all their supplies as they come in. Yeah, I think that would work fine. Now, I still don't have any dirt excavators on the map, which is why I'm still using platforms to hoist everything up. In this case, it probably would have been nice if I had access to them, because what I could do is put some of the underground storage for scrap near my refineries. But I don't have access to it, so we'll make do with what I've got. This is going to be a very odd looking way station. Before I put that in there, let me also do a quick double check that it will be capable of linking down there. Yes, it will be steep, but that will still qualify to connect. That is an unusually high zipline station, chilling way up in the sky like that, but we will keep it. Now, as I'm building this, you'll notice I'm putting an underground pile in this random location. Underground piles are one of my favorite things about the Folktale compared to the Iron Teeth, just because they allow so much storage for goods. Each one of these is more than 5 of the small large piles, so very handy. Worth it even to put down temporarily until I can get the dirt. Personally, I feel that this is where the fun of the game really starts to come in. Like, the first couple of seasons are all about surviving droughts and figuring out that. But at a certain point, you've already stabilized that, and it's just a matter of scaling up your economy and making sure you don't grow too fast. But at that point, really, this is where you get into building crazy things. And this is the part of the game that I enjoy the most, just figuring out strange structures, using their 3D build system. So really, all this construction here, creating all of this, is just a preamble of what is about to come. As I'm watching construction up here, though, I am catching something that I do not like to see. Our food is going down. You'll notice our stockpiles are dwindling down, and that's because we've boosted our population faster than our production can keep up. So let's take a peek around here to see what's up. Well, first off, I see we've got a lot of potatoes still. So that tells me that the growing of the potatoes isn't a bottleneck here, it's the actual cooking of them. So that's easy to solve. We can just duplicate the grill that we've got here and build another grill on the other side of the road. Ideally, that will address potatoes. But let's take a look at wheat. This is something I pointed out earlier in the episode where I don't think we're producing flour quickly enough. And I noticed we have a big stockpile of wheat. Now, what would be great is if I could just shift this down a little bit and put in an additional grist mill. Fortunately, we're a little tight on space here. Well, that can be resolved. I would like to dynamite this away so we can make a nice road there. And I'm pretty sure we can afford to do that now, thanks to the extract that we created earlier in this episode. I can then shift our storage over here, delete that, and then put down an additional grist mill. Now, we do get all that wheat back, it's just lying on the ground, so once this storage has been created, they can just go ahead and stuff everything in there. while we are going to have more wheat flour coming in, I think we're running into the same problem we did with potatoes, where it's not being baked quickly enough. That can also be solved by going over here, and we can create an additional bakery, as well as, I think, another small warehouse over here to hold the imported flour. Now, that's going to take care of bread and potatoes. It is not going to take care of carrots. I think our problem with carrots is we simply don't have enough of them being grown. That's not absolutely vital. As long as we have some food coming in, the beavers aren't going to die. But I can pull out these berries that I'm not using, and I can expand some of our carrot production. Thanks to that effort, I see our food slowly starting to grow again. I think the clutch move was the additional bakery for the potatoes. That's what pulled us through here. I think once we have additional planks to work with, like a bigger stockpile, what I'd like to do is move these. I'm going to put some large warehouses down there and then put them on top, or our cooking stations on top. And then that way I can start storing massive amounts of prepared food. It's not strictly necessary since we did have food that we were ready to cook, but I do like to have an additional buffer as our population gets bigger and bigger. Now, if you heard that noise, that's also a good sign. It means that our well-being jumped up to 21. That's largely thanks to our 2 monuments here, which are covering most of our beavers or all of our beavers while they're asleep. I can also see, thanks to our population boom, we have more than enough workers. In fact, I think we're going to be idling up at like 200 population relatively soon once these beavers come of age. So honestly, that's perfect. Sometimes I like to keep the population at around 200 for a colony, just because I find that CPU usage really starts to bog down after that. But what I might do is, as we continue, is create separate colonies elsewhere in the map where they can have their own population, like as a separate district. I'm wondering if that will scale better on this map instead of like one mega colony. That said, now that that population size is starting to sink in, I'm getting a little bit of food anxiety. I don't really know if all the food that we've planted in here is going to be enough. I think just to be safe, I'm going to expand to put more farms in. What I'm concerned about is that with our new population growing, we're just going to start eating into our stockpiles. In that case, what I might do is try to put some more planting up here. Now, the thing I'm worried about is that this isn't exactly safe either, because when we hit a drought, which, for example, we're going to run into in a couple days, this water will go down, and when it does, this will die. To be safe, if we're going to keep this green, we'd probably have to have like some pond in here that we're filling with like a fluid dump. We also need to get up here to work. And it would be very silly if we had to run this giant zip line to go all the way around to get up here. I wonder if we could just make some sort of stairs up here from down below. Well, I've become ridiculously enamored with those spiral staircases. So I think what I'm going to do is make a giant spiral staircase from the bottom of the valley up to the rim. In fact, I could even make a landing halfway up, and that would give me access to this other landing here. Okay, very ridiculous. I like how compact I can make stairs now. In fact, that's going to replace how I normally get to the top of dams in the future. Like, I'm so used to just building giant runs like this, and now I could just make a compact spiral staircase and go up as high as I need. So much nicer. Of course, once we get up here, we should put in a zipline station long term. One of the first things we can do once we get up here is I can put in some lumberjacks and cut down those trees. And then once those are clear, I'm thinking I'll figure out a place to put the dynamite. Let's let them finish the stairs first, though. With that, and I can see we've got our lumberjacks starting. Look at that. It's so funny to see them just spiral up, up, up. Now, for where we're going to put this dynamite, let's figure that out. Probably somewhere in the middle. And then I'm hoping that if I put something in here, that's going to give me good coverage for this plateau as well. So ideally something, like this. And I'm going to be targeting a 3x3 shape, just because that's going to give us the greatest reach with our irrigation. We'll use some of that dynamite that we've slowly been stockpiling over this episode. Ooh, and I cut that a little bit closer than I was expecting. We almost lost a beaver there. I thought I was clever and paused these lumberjacks, but he was still up there. Anyways, now that we've got this cleared out, I wonder if we can be clever here and fill this with water with a dumping station, while at the same time putting a farming hut on top of it, that we can just maximize the amount of land that we've got. So let's figure out how we can best pull that off. If I fill that in with platforms, I could have a fluid dump, which I don't usually use them, but they are very handy. If I clear that off, I can make a fluid dump right there, give a little space, and then that should give it just enough space for an efficient farmhouse. And the farmhouse should cover everything here. I know I could probably put another little small tank up here if I wanted to be really efficient, but, you know, it's a small body of water. I'm gonna have one beaver in there. He can just come down here into this large tank and pick stuff up. Now with this farm planned up here, I've got two problems. One, I need to put the food in, but I want to wait for water to be placed in here so I know the irrigated range. But the other two is I want storage for that food and I want zipline access, because as much as I love this stairs, it's going to be really tedious to use it all the time. And I'll only be able to plan it for now because, well, we're out of planks and we're in a drought. So you can see because I have very, very little power here, just by these couple of two windmills, all our production elsewhere has stopped. So long term, probably not for this episode, but for a future episode, we're going to need to seriously start thinking about like a long-term power plant for these beavers. But for now, at least we can plan some things. So first, let's talk zip lines. They're kind of mid, in my opinion right now. I think the Iron Teeth fast transit is so much more flexible because of this problem that I've got here. With the zip line only allows a single connection in and out. So unlike the Iron Teeth, where I could use this as a junction and get somebody up here with a different tubeway connection, I can't. I'd have to build a completely different zipline station. And one of the ways of doing that is something like this. You can see how I set these two zip lines side by side so somebody can get out of one door and go into the other. We haven't used this one yet, which we'll get to, but it does make it tricky here. Right? Like the easiest way I could do a transfer here would be a zip line over where these trees are. But that's going to collide with this line if I go up, isn't it? I mean, maybe we'll get lucky and it'll go high enough that it'll cross it, but that is unfortunate. Well, let's try it and find out. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but maybe if we make a zipline station here, then send the next one up to the top of this mountain, somewhere over here. Maybe it will be enough to clear this. I think long term, I'm definitely going to have to come up with like a much better planned zipline network. This approach is very organic, but I'm not sure if it's going to scale as we start going into crazy mode in late game. So we'll pull out those trees and now the test to see if this is going to work. So we've got a zipline station here. I'm going to look up here and add a zipline pylon station, nice and high. Maybe we'll keep it straight like that. And will this connect? Oh, it will. Okay, we got lucky. I'm going to guess that if it were at the exact same height, it wouldn't. Which we can test very easily. If I did this, is this going to collide? So if I deleted that zipline connection and I went here, does it care about ziplines running into ziplines? No, it doesn't. Okay, that's good to know for the future. It's going to make it a lot easier to make these like junction stations. Okay, with that understood, let's put the other zipline station down somewhere over here. Well, I could put it here, but what I think I'm going to do is a little odd. I do like these ziplines when they're nice and straight. And if I were to build this zipline station here, downside is this is a little bit expensive because it is built on top of the water. So we're going to need planks for all of these, which we don't really have a lot of those. But if I did something like this, that looks like it's straight, then we could add connections to all those. Yeah, that looks nice and straight. And now we just need to figure out a place for the storage. Well, we do have a 3x3 square here. It will use up a little bit of our irrigated land, but that's okay. It is nice and close to this. I think long term, what I might do is I might actually seal some of this off and build even this dam higher and higher, because both this and this dam have the capability of being raised higher due to the pressure. But that's okay, we can still do that here. We'll just come back later and put impermeable floors on the foundation. Oh, and I see you guys have finally finished cutting down all the trees. You can head back to the unemployment pool. And you can see as this drought goes on, this is exactly why I didn't want to plant here as is. Because you can see as this water is going down, it's all becoming dead. So we've got a few days until the drought ends and we start getting planks back. Luckily, I think we still do have a fairly decent food buffer, so that's okay. While we're on the zipline train, though, we can finish what I started earlier over here, which was getting additional zip lines up to our factory floors. Because this one, it's really handy for the metal workers coming in to drop stuff off. But for our workers who are over here and over here, we don't really have a great zipline solution yet. So let's go back to this one. The idea was we'd have some zipline over here, which is station, then it would make a 90-degree turn and come up here. First thing I'm going to do is delete this large pile over here so we have some space to work with. And we can also delete this tiny one, which we don't need anymore. Those planks are stored right here anyways. Well, we've got a few options here. One of the things I could do is repeat this same type of junction that I had over here to split. So for example, if I have this path coming in here, I would have the option of maybe building another one right here. And that would allow us to potentially have one line go up to workstation and future-proof if we wanted a different line to continue heading over in this direction. So that would mean we've got one here, and then we can just reclaim our road in between everything, put the other one there. And while I'm here, I might as well throw down a decoration or two. This will probably be a busy junction with everybody coming to and from work. We'll put the bulletin board there while everybody walks by, and maybe a few hedges and benches. And then we can connect these two right there. Now to figure out how to get this zip line all the way up here. Now, if I was being really strict and wanted everything at right angles, what I would do is line it up right here, like somewhere along this line. That's tough at this point. Maybe if I had overhangs and more of these, I could make some overhang to hang it out. Maybe later in the game. Instead, I think I'm going to go for a really cheap solution. So you can see I've still got these stairs here. These stairs and this road, this is a callback from way back when we needed it for scraps. So if I were to delete some of those, instead, there's a nice pocket right here where all I need to do is flatten it a little bit, and I could put a zipline station right there to dump off the workers. We can revisit this later. You know, somewhere over here might be more ideal because it's closer to all the other buildings, but this is fine. Well, at this point, we've got a massive build queue. It is going to take a while to get any of these built. We do have just a very slow trickle of planks coming in thanks to these two windmills. I am missing the Iron Teeth capability to make like indefinite power plants. A little bit harder with the Folktale until you get the gravity batteries going. But let's take a look back up here to see how our farmland is doing. Well, if you look at that, it looks like we had enough trickle of planks coming in that we've got this working and operational. We don't yet have our way station in yet, but that's fine. We can at least get our farming plans done. The one food that we're always lacking is carrots. We're always running out of that, so carrots would be good. I also have not planted any sunflower seeds, so I'm thinking I can do some sort of mix of them in here. The only downside is that we only do have storage right now for one type of good, so we'll have to come back later and add extra storage. It may also be interesting to make this a little bit more decorative. I always do huge plots of land. Maybe something where I'm making rows of plants would be interesting. Now for the storage, I could put another storage bin right here. Before I do though, there is something that I'd like to change about this upper dam. And this is a handy tip that some of the viewers pointed out. This dam right here is blocked by floodgates, which I have open most of the time. The problem is this allows water to backflow into the pipe, which I might not always want. What I could do is I could replace these with sluice gates. And not because I want them to open and close at a particular height or I want them to block bad water, but only because I want to use a sluice gate's ability to keep the water flowing in a single direction. So I can allow water to flow into the dam, but not flow backwards to go back into the pipe. And if I did that, that would clear some space up here that I could then build on top of it some of these large warehouses for the other type of food. Now, I could put it here. I don't want to risk building on top of it. We're going to get something like that. And I'm just going to keep all of these set to open all the time. Downside is I need somebody down there to actually build these, and I don't think they can build them from up here in this case. In which case, we're going to have to get somebody to go all the way down. And then we can just build on top of that and then build our warehouse. And then we'll set one of these over to carrots and the other one over to sunflower seeds. Now this storage over here is going to be quick access for our farmers. Long term, I am thinking of putting them down in this row over here. I'm going to call it like, I don't know, food corner. This is going to be our food court. We can move some of these other buildings and just make massive storage with all the bakeries on top. And then we'll have our haulers more or less grab the stuff over here and just pull it into town. Use the zipline, cross over here, get into Baker's Corner, feed everybody. And, you know, as I'm mapping this out to see where the ziplines go, I am seeing just how inefficient going through that tunnel is. It would be a lot easier if I just had this zipline continue up here and then down. I'd probably cut off all this corner. So while I'm on this building spree, why don't I just add another zipline pylon? Once it's in, we can just connect it down to this one. And the drought comes to an end. That's good, because these beavers are probably getting really annoyed with my massive build queue. We needed to give them some time to actually clear some of this stuff out. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on going. So with the good season coming back, we should see our dams start to fill up again. And that's going to at least let our power water wheels start running again. And that's going to cause a train reaction of unblocking all of the rest of our build queue. We'll get our new zipline station in, finish our ridiculously overkill storage for this tiny single farm. We'll get our rapid ziplines that go to our workstations in. And finally, we'll get the rest of our manufacturing zone with all those new smelters complete. And with that, I think we're at a good stopping point for this episode. We've done a lot. We've got this massive new production center, this new run of water wheels, plus we've got our new housing district, our new set of water pumps, new water storage, and even some new farming. Next episode, I'm looking forward to unlocking dirt and starting to reroute some of this bad water. As always, I hope you guys enjoy these episodes. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. And with that, I hope to catch you next time.